My name is Margaret Lewis, and for most of my life, I was the strong one. I was the one who cooked when everyone was tired. I was the one who stayed up late when someone was sick. I was the one who gave money even when my own pocket was empty. I was the one who always took care of them. But the night I needed them the most, I was sitting alone on my bed, shaking, holding my phone with trembling hands, while every call I made went unanswered. And that was the moment I realized something painful. They had turned their backs on me. Before I go on, let me say this. If you love emotional and powerful stories like this, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story. Also, drop a comment below and tell me which country you are watching from. I want to know who is here with me. Now listen carefully, because what happened next still hurts me to this day. It was raining hard that night. The kind of rain that feels heavy, like the sky itself is crying. The roof above my small room made loud tapping sounds as the rain hit it again and again. My legs were swollen. My chest felt tight. Every breath came with pain. I had just come back from the hospital. The doctor had looked at me with tired eyes and said softly, "You need rest. And you should not be alone tonight." Alone. That word followed me all the way home. When I sat on my bed, I tried to be strong. I told myself I had handled worse. I raised 3 children by myself after their father died. I worked 2 jobs. I skipped meals so they could eat. I sold my jewelry to pay school fees. I took care of everyone. So I picked up my phone. First, I called my eldest son. It rang. And rang. Then went silent. I tried again. No answer. I sent a message. "Please call me back. I am not feeling well." No reply. My heart beat faster. I called my daughter next. She always said, "Mom, I'll always be there for you." The phone rang once, then stopped. She declined the call. I stared at the screen, my eyes filling with tears. Maybe she was busy, I told myself. Maybe she would call back. Then I called my youngest son. Straight to voicemail. That was when my hands started shaking. I sat there, listening to the rain, my phone resting in my palm like a heavy stone. I had taken care of them all their lives. I had wiped their tears. I had carried them on my back when they were weak. But now, when I needed them, there was no one. I tried to stand up to get some water, but my legs failed me. I fell back onto the bed, gasping. My chest burned. My vision blurred. For the first time in many years, I felt fear. Real fear. I whispered into the empty room. "Please, someone help me." No one answered. As I lay there, memories flooded my mind. I remembered the nights I stayed awake with my daughter when she had nightmares. I remembered the days I skipped work to sit beside my son's hospital bed. I remembered counting coins late at night, praying they would be enough for school. I remembered promising myself, one day when I am old, they will be there for me. That promise felt like a lie now. My phone buzzed suddenly. My heart jumped. I grabbed it quickly, hoping, praying. But it wasn't a call. It was a message. From my eldest son. It read, "Mom, I can't talk right now. I'm busy. We'll talk later." Later. I laughed softly, a sad, broken laugh. Later never comes when you need help now. I typed back with shaking fingers. "Please. I'm not okay." The message showed seen. No reply. That was when something inside me cracked. Tears rolled down my face, slow and heavy. Not loud crying, just quiet tears. The kind that come when your heart is too tired to scream. I wasn't asking for money. I wasn't asking for favors. I was just asking for them to show up. Hours passed. The rain slowed, but the pain in my chest did not. I managed to sit up again. My head felt light. My room felt too quiet. The walls looked closer than before. Then my phone rang. I froze. This time, it was my daughter. I answered quickly. Hello. My voice was weak. She sighed loudly on the other end. Mom, why are you calling everyone like this? She said. I swallowed hard. I'm sick, I whispered. I just need someone with me tonight. There was a pause. Then she said something I will never forget. Mom, I have my own problems. I can't drop everything for you. Drop everything. I didn't know what to say. She continued, You're strong. You always are. You'll be fine. Then she hung up. I stared at the phone in silence. Strong. Yes. I had always been strong. But even the strongest people break. I leaned back on the bed, my chest hurting more than before. My hands were cold. My heart felt heavy with a pain deeper than sickness. That night, I understood something painful. Being needed when you are useful is not the same as being loved when you are weak. And as I lay there, alone in the dark, struggling to breathe, one terrifying thought filled my mind. What if this is how my story ends? And they don't even know. The room began to spin. My phone slipped from my hand and fell to the floor. And just before everything went dark, I heard a sound at the door. A knock. But I didn't know who it was, or if I would even be able to answer. The knock on the door came again. Slow. Heavy. Real. My heart jumped so hard it hurt. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. Maybe my body was finally giving up. Maybe this was the end, and my mind was playing tricks on me. But then the knock came a third time. Ma'am, a voice called out softly. Are you okay? I tried to answer, but my mouth felt dry. My tongue felt thick. I forced my lips to move. I'm here, I whispered. The voice sounded closer now. I heard something fall. I live next door. Are you alone? Next door. I had lived in that building for years, but I barely knew my neighbors. Everyone kept to themselves. I was always too busy taking care of my family to make friends. I tried to sit up, but pain shot through my chest. I cried out softly. The door handle rattled. I'm coming in, the voice said. I have a spare key from the landlord. The door opened. A young woman rushed in. She couldn't have been more than 30. She wore a hoodie and slippers, her hair tied back quickly like she had run out in a hurry. Oh my God, she said when she saw me. You're not okay. She dropped to her knees beside my bed. I heard the noise. I knocked earlier, but you didn't answer. Then I heard something fall. I wanted to tell her thank you. I wanted to tell her my name. But my eyes burned, and the room spun again. I'm calling an ambulance, she said firmly. I grabbed her wrist weakly. No, I whispered. Please. Just help me sit. She hesitated, then nodded. Carefully, she helped me sit up and gave me some water. I drank slowly, my hands shaking. My name is Lena, she said gently. What's yours? Margaret, I answered. She smiled sadly. You shouldn't be alone like this. Those words hit me harder than the pain. I shouldn't be alone. Yet here I was. Lena stayed with me that night. She sat on the small chair near my bed, checking on me every few minutes. She spoke calmly, telling me stories about her job, her childhood, small things, just to keep me awake. At some point, she asked, Did you call your family? I nodded. Her voice softened. And? I looked away. She didn't push. That silence said everything. By morning, I felt a little stronger. Enough to breathe without feeling like my chest would break open. Lena helped me make tea and toast. Before she left, she wrote her number on a piece of paper and placed it on my table. If you need anything, she said, even just to talk, call me. I nodded, my throat tight. A stranger had shown me more care in one night than my own children had. That truth hurt more than any sickness. Later that afternoon, my phone finally rang again. This time, it was my eldest son. Mom, he said quickly, I heard you were sick. I closed my eyes. You heard? I asked softly. Yeah, he said. Your sister mentioned it. So he knew. And still didn't come. I was busy yesterday, he continued. You know how work is. I waited. No apology came. I could have died, I said quietly. He laughed nervously. Mom, don't be dramatic. You're fine now, right? Fine. I felt something inside me go cold. Yes, I said. I'm fine. We ended the call shortly after. He promised to check in later. Later. That word again. Over the next few days, my children came one by one, not to see how I was, but to explain themselves. My daughter said, you know how hard my marriage is right now. My youngest son said, I didn't think it was that serious. They all had reasons. Excuses. Not one of them said, I'm sorry I wasn't there. Not one of them asked, how did you feel? They talked. I listened. Like I always had. But something had changed. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped trying to make them understand. Because for the first time, I realized something painful and clear. They were used to me giving. They were not used to me needing. A week later, I overheard something that shook me to my core. I was visiting my daughter's house. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I was walking toward the living room when I heard my name. She's getting older, my daughter said quietly. She's going to need more help. My son replied, we can't take her in. That would ruin everything. Ruin everything. She should look into a home, my daughter added. You know, those places for old people. My heart dropped. They were talking about me. Like I wasn't even human. Like I was a problem to be solved. I stood there, frozen, my hands shaking. After everything I had done. After all the years. This was how they saw me. A burden. I quietly turned around and walked back to the guest room. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. That night, I couldn't sleep. A question kept repeating in my mind. If they are already planning my life without me, what else are they hiding? The next morning, as I prepared to leave, my daughter hugged me quickly. Get home safe, Mom, she said. I smiled. But inside, something was breaking apart. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. A message. From a number I didn't recognize. It read, you don't know the truth about your children. But you will soon. My heart stopped. I looked around, confused, scared. Who sent this? And what truth were they talking about? I clutched my phone tightly, my hands cold, my chest heavy again, not from sickness this time, but from fear. Because deep down I felt it. Something worse was coming. I stood outside my daughter's house for a long time, staring at the message on my phone. You don't know the truth about your children. But you will soon. My fingers felt numb. I read it again. And again. Who would send something like that? I looked around the quiet street. Cars passed. People walked by. No one looked at me twice. Whoever sent the message was gone, or maybe watching from somewhere I could not see. I slipped the phone into my bag and slowly walked to the bus stop. All the way home, my mind was loud. What truth? About which child? Why now? I had spent my whole life protecting my children. Even when they hurt me, I covered for them. Even when they made mistakes, I cleaned them up. If there was a truth I did not know, then it meant something big had been hidden from me. And that scared me more than being sick. When I got home, the apartment felt colder than usual. I locked the door and leaned against it, taking a deep breath. My chest still hurt sometimes, but this pain felt different. This was the kind of pain that comes when your heart senses danger. I made myself some tea and sat at the small table by the window. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. I took out my phone again. No new messages. I thought about replying, but I was afraid. What if it was a trick? What if it was someone trying to hurt me? Still, curiosity burned inside me. I typed slowly. Who is this? I stared at the screen. Minutes passed. Then the typing dots appeared. My heart started pounding. The reply came. Someone who knows what they did. Someone who thinks you deserve to know. My hands shook. What they did. I swallowed hard and typed again. Did what? This time, the reply took longer. So long that I thought maybe they would not answer. But then my phone buzzed again. They made plans without you. About your money. About your home. The room felt like it was spinning. My money. My home. I had a small house left to me by my late husband. It was old, but it was mine. I also had savings. Not much, but enough to live quietly. I had always trusted my children around money. I never thought I had to protect myself from them. My heart felt heavy. I typed. Explain. The message came almost instantly this time. I can't say everything over text. But check your emails. Especially the old ones. Old emails? I slowly stood up and walked to my laptop. I hadn't used it in weeks. My hands trembled as I opened it and logged in. My email inbox loaded. Hundreds of messages. Bills. Ads. Old messages from years ago. I didn't even know where to start. Then I noticed something strange. A folder I did not remember creating. It was named Family Documents. My breath caught. I clicked it. Inside were emails. Sent years ago. Emails I had never read. My name was on them. But I was not the one they were sent to. They were sent about me. The first email was from my eldest son to my daughter. Subject line, Mom's property situation. My hands began to shake harder. I clicked it. She's getting older and weaker. We should start planning now before things get complicated. The house is still in her name, but that can change if we handle it carefully. My heart pounded in my ears. I scrolled down. She trusts us. We just need to make sure she signs the right papers when the time comes. I covered my mouth with my hand. My own son. Talking about me like I was already gone. I opened the next email. This one was from my daughter. I agree. She won't question us if we say it's for her own good. We can say it's to help with medical care. Tears filled my eyes. They weren't worried about helping me. They were worried about what I owned. I opened another email. And another. Plans. Discussions. Jokes. They talked about who would get what. They talked about putting me in a home. They talked about acting fast if her health gets worse. I felt sick. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned. 4 years. I slammed the laptop shut and stood up, breathing hard. So that was it. That was why they did not answer my calls. That was why they sounded annoyed when I needed help. To them, I was no longer their mother. I was an obstacle. A delay. Something standing between them and what they wanted. I felt angry. But more than that. I felt betrayed. I had given them everything. And they were already dividing what was left of me. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Now you see. I sat back down slowly. Who are you? I typed. The reply came after a pause. Someone who was there when they talked. Someone they didn't notice. My mind raced. Who could that be? A friend? A co-worker? A spouse? Then another message came. They are not done yet. My heart dropped. What do you mean? The dots appeared again. Then stopped. Then appeared again. Finally, the message arrived. They are planning to take control sooner than you think. And they will say it was your idea. My chest tightened. Take control? My money. My house. My life. I suddenly remembered something my eldest son had said during his last visit. Mom, Maybe you should let me help manage your finances. Just in case. At the time, I had smiled and said I would think about it. Now I understood. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in the dark, replaying everything. Every visit. Every phone call. Every time they rushed me to sign something without explaining it fully. I had trusted them blindly. And they used that trust against me. As the sun began to rise, a new feeling slowly replaced my fear. Clarity. If they thought I was weak, if they thought I didn't know, they were wrong. Very wrong. But before I could even plan my next move, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. It was my youngest son. I hesitated, then answered. Mom, he said softly. We need to talk. Today. Something in his voice made my stomach turn. What about? I asked. There was a pause. Then he said words that made my blood run cold. It's about some papers we need you to sign. It's important. My hand tightened around the phone. Papers. I looked at the laptop on the table. At the emails I had read. At the truth I could no longer ignore. Come over, I said calmly. After the call ended, I sat very still. Because now I knew. The people I once protected were preparing to take everything from me. And the next move would change everything. After I hung up the phone, the room felt too quiet. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall, replaying my youngest son's words over and over in my head. Some papers we need you to sign. I had heard those words before. Not just from him. From all of them. And every time, I trusted them. This time, I would not. I stood up slowly and walked to my bedroom. I opened my small metal drawer and pulled out a folder I hadn't touched in years. Inside were old documents. My house papers, bank letters, my husband's will. I spread them on the bed. This was my life. Every page had a story behind it. Every signature had been written with hope. Hope that my children would grow, succeed, and love me. I had never imagined I would one day need to protect myself from them. I took a deep breath and made a decision. I would listen. But I would not sign anything. Not without understanding everything. A few hours later, there was a knock at the door. My heart jumped, but I stayed calm. I opened it. My youngest son stood there, holding a brown envelope. He smiled, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Mom, he said. You look better. I feel better, I replied. Come in. He sat on the couch and placed the envelope on the table between us, like it was something fragile. These are just some documents, he said casually. Nothing serious. I looked at the envelope. About what? I asked. He hesitated for a second. Just a second. But I saw it. It's about helping you, he said. You know, managing things. In case something happens. Something happens. I leaned back and crossed my hands. Open it, I said. Let me see. He opened the envelope and pulled out several papers. He slid them toward me. I picked them up slowly and began to read. My heart started beating faster with every line. These were not simple papers. These were power of attorney documents. They would give him control over my money, my bank, my property, everything. I looked up at him. You said this was nothing serious, I said quietly. He cleared his throat. Mom, don't make it sound bad. It's just to make things easier. Easier for who? I asked. For everyone, he replied quickly. You're getting older. Things can get confusing. I stared at him. I am not confused, I said. He sighed, like I was the problem. Mom, why are you being difficult? That word hit me hard. Difficult. I had raised him, fed him, protected him. And now, because I asked questions, I was difficult. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message. From the unknown number. Do not sign anything. Not today. My chest tightened. I looked back at my son. Did your brother and sister know about this? I asked. He hesitated again. That was my answer. They helped prepare it, he admitted. We all talked about it. All of them. Together. Behind my back. When? I asked. After you got sick, he said. We were worried. Worried. I laughed softly. If you were worried, I said, why didn't you come that night? He looked away. We thought you'd be fine. Fine. That word again. I placed the papers back on the table. I will not sign this today, I said firmly. His face changed. Not anger. Fear. Mom, we really need this done, he said. It's important. Important to who? I repeated. To us, he said without thinking. Then he stopped. Too late. The truth had slipped out. I stood up slowly. You should go, I said. Mom. Go, I repeated. He gathered the papers quickly, frustration written all over his face. You're making a mistake, he said as he stood up. No, I replied calmly. I'm finally seeing clearly. He left without saying goodbye. The door closed behind him with a soft click. But inside me, something slammed shut forever. That evening, my daughter called. I didn't answer. Then my eldest son called. I didn't answer either. My phone buzzed again and again. Messages. Voicemails. They were suddenly very interested in me now. I sat quietly, listening to the phone ring, feeling something strange. Not sadness. Not fear. Strength. The next day, I decided to do something I had never done before. I called a lawyer. A simple, calm man with kind eyes. I told him everything. The sickness. The calls. The emails. The papers. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Lewis, he said gently, your children were trying to take legal control of your assets. I nodded. I know. You were right not to sign, he continued. If you had, you would have lost the right to make decisions for yourself. Lost my voice. My choices. My life. I thanked him and left. Outside, the sun was bright. For the first time in a long while, I felt awake. That night, another message came from the unknown number. They are angry now. I typed back. I can handle anger. A pause. Then. Anger is not what you should fear. My heart skipped. Then what should I fear? I asked. The reply came slowly. Desperation. I stared at the word. Desperation. My phone rang at that exact moment. I looked at the screen. All three of their names. In a group call. Together. My hand hovered over the phone. I knew this call would change everything. I took a deep breath. And answered. I stared at the phone as it vibrated in my hand. All three of their names were on the screen. Together. They had never done that before. My heart beat fast, but my voice stayed calm when I answered. Hello. There was a short silence. Then my eldest son spoke first. Mom, he said, forcing a soft tone, we need to talk. All of us. I sat down slowly. I'm listening, I said. My daughter jumped in quickly. Mom, please don't misunderstand things. We're only trying to help you. Help. That word again. You didn't even come when I was sick, I replied. Now you want to help. Another pause. This time longer. My youngest son cleared his throat. That night was complicated. For who? I asked. No one answered. We're worried about you, my eldest son finally said. Your health. Your safety. I closed my eyes for a moment. My health. I said softly. I was alone and scared. I called all of you. None of you came. My daughter sighed loudly. Mom, You always make things sound worse than they are." That hurt more than anything else she could have said. "I could have died," I replied. "You didn't," my youngest son said quickly. "And thank God for that. Thank God. But not them." The conversation slowly changed. Their voices became firmer, more serious. "Mom," my eldest son said, "we think it's time to make some changes." "Like what?" I asked, even though I already knew. "Like moving you somewhere safer," my daughter said. "A place where professionals can take care of you." "A place?" I laughed quietly. "You mean a home," I said. They didn't deny it. "Just until you get better," my youngest son added quickly. "Or longer. We'll see." I felt my hands tighten. "You've already decided," I said. "We're discussing it," my eldest son corrected. "No. They were informing me." "I raised you," I said slowly. "I carried you. I protected you. I worked myself sick to give you a good life." My voice shook, but I kept going. "And now, you're talking about sending me away like I'm a problem." My daughter spoke, her voice colder now. "Mom, you can't live in the past. This is about reality." "Reality?" "Yes," I said. "Let's talk about reality." The line went quiet. I took a deep breath. "I saw the emails," I said. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. "What emails?" my eldest son asked, but his voice had changed. "You know which ones," I replied. "The ones where you planned my life without me. The ones where you talked about my house. My money." No one spoke. That silence told me everything. Finally, my daughter spoke. "Mom, you weren't supposed to see those." I felt something break inside my chest. Not anger. Disappointment. "So it's true," I said. "All of it." "We were just being practical," my eldest son said defensively. "Someone had to think ahead." "And that someone couldn't be me?" I asked. "You're emotional," my youngest son said softly. "You don't always think clearly." That was it. The final knife. I stopped shaking. I stopped crying. Something inside me hardened. "I am done," I said calmly. "Done with what?" my daughter asked. "Being treated like a child," I replied. "Being talked about instead of talked to." "Mom, don't do this," my eldest son warned. "You need us." I smiled sadly. "No," I said. "I needed you." Past tense. There was anger now. Real anger. "You're being selfish," my daughter snapped. "After everything we're trying to do." Selfish. After a lifetime of giving. "I will not sign anything," I said firmly. "And I will not leave my home." "You don't have a choice," my eldest son said. My heart skipped. "What did you say?" I asked quietly. "You heard me," he replied. "If this goes legal, things won't be easy for you." Threats. From my own child. I held the phone tighter. "Is that a threat?" I asked. "It's reality," he said. That was when I realized something important. They were no longer pretending. The kindness was gone. The masks were off. They wanted control. And they were angry that they didn't have it. I ended the call without another word. My hands were shaking again, but this time it was not from fear. It was from pain mixed with resolve. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from the unknown number. "Now you see who they really are." I typed back slowly. "Yes." The reply came. "Then it's time to protect yourself." I looked around my small apartment. My home. My safe place. Or so I thought. Just then, there was a loud knock at the door. Not gentle. Not polite. Loud. Demanding. My heart jumped into my throat. I walked slowly toward the door. Before I could reach it, someone tried the handle. It rattled hard. A voice I recognized shouted from outside. "Mom, open the door. We need to talk. Now. It was my eldest son. And he was not alone. My breath caught. Because whatever they were about to do, it felt like they were done asking. My heart pounded as the door handle shook again. Mom! My eldest son shouted. Open the door. I stood frozen in the middle of the room. For a moment, I felt like I was no longer a grown woman in my own home, but a frightened child hiding from danger. My hands were cold. My mouth was dry. Then I heard another voice. My daughter. Mom, please don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder. I walked slowly to the door and placed my hand against it. The wood felt thin. Too thin to protect me from what was standing on the other side. Why are you here? I asked through the door. We just want to talk, my youngest son said. His voice was calm, but something about it felt wrong. Too calm. You had your chance to talk, I replied. On the phone. This is different, my eldest son said. Open the door. No, I said firmly. There was silence for a second. Then his tone changed. Mom, you're acting irrational. If you don't open the door, we'll have to take another step. Another step. My heart skipped. What step? I asked. You don't want to know, my daughter replied quickly. Just open the door. I backed away slowly, my legs shaking. I suddenly remembered what the unknown number had said. Desperation. This was it. I went into my bedroom and locked the door quietly. My hands trembled as I grabbed my phone. I didn't call my children. I called Lena. She answered on the second ring. Margaret, she said, worried. Are you okay? They're here, I whispered. My children. They're angry. What? She said. Where are you? At home. They're outside my door. Listen to me, Lena said firmly. Do not open that door. I'm calling the police right now. My chest tightened. I don't want trouble, I whispered. You're already in trouble, she replied. Stay where you are. I ended the call just as I heard a loud bang. They were knocking harder now. Mom, stop this nonsense, my eldest son shouted. My daughter's voice followed. You're embarrassing us. Embarrassing. I sat on the edge of my bed, my heart racing. Then I heard words that made my blood run cold. If you don't open this door, my eldest son said, we'll tell them you're not mentally well. I gasped. They won't believe you, my youngest son added. We're your children. Tears streamed down my face. They were willing to destroy my name, to take my dignity, just to control me. A few minutes later, I heard sirens. Distant at first. Then closer. The knocking stopped. Voices lowered. I heard my daughter hiss. Did you call someone? I didn't, my eldest son snapped. The sirens grew louder. Then there was a knock again, this time calmer. Police, a voice said. Open the door. I rushed out of my bedroom and opened the door with shaking hands. 2 officers stood there. Lena was behind them, her face pale but determined. Ma'am, one officer said gently. Are you okay? I nodded, tears falling freely now. My children, I whispered. They tried to force me. The officers turned toward my children, who stood a few steps away. What's going on here? One officer asked them. My eldest son stepped forward quickly. Our mother is confused, he said. She's not well. We were just worried about her. The officer looked back at me. Is that true, ma'am? He asked. I wiped my tears and straightened my back. No, I said clearly. It is not. Something shifted in the air. The officers asked questions. I answered calmly. My children interrupted. They spoke over me. They tried to explain. But the truth has a strange power. It doesn't need to shout. I showed the officer the messages. I told him about the papers. About the threats. About the door handle shaking. Lena backed me up. She was scared, Lena said. They wouldn't leave. The officer nodded slowly. I see, he said. He turned to my children. You need to leave, he said firmly. Now. My daughter's eyes widened. But she's our mother. And this is her home, the officer replied. If she asks you to leave, you leave. My eldest son's jaw tightened. He looked at me. This time, there was no anger in his eyes. Only something darker. Resentment. You're choosing strangers over your own children, he said quietly. I met his gaze. No, I replied. I'm choosing myself. They left without another word. After the officers were gone, Lena stayed with me. We sat in silence for a long time. I'm sorry, she said softly. No one deserves that. I raised them, I replied. I never thought I would fear them. She placed her hand over mine. You're not weak, she said. You're brave. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like danger. I realized something then. Even though they had left, they were not done. People who want control don't stop easily. The next morning, my phone buzzed with notifications. Missed calls. Voicemails. Messages. Not from my children. From banks. From offices. From places I recognized. My heart dropped. I opened one voicemail. Mrs. Lewis, a voice said. We received a request to change your account access. Please call us urgently. Another message. Regarding your property documents. I felt dizzy. They were moving fast. Faster than I expected. My phone buzzed again. A text from the unknown number. This is only the beginning. They are trying another way. My hands trembled. Another way. I sat down slowly, fear creeping back into my chest. Because now I understood something terrifying. If they couldn't take control by force, they would try to take it quietly. And I had no idea how far they were willing to go. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone like it was a ticking bomb. Bank messages. Office voicemails. Urgent requests. My children had started something. And they were not waiting for my permission. I took a deep breath and forced myself to stand up. Fear wanted to keep me frozen, but I knew something now. I could not afford to be slow. If I hesitated, they would win. I grabbed my coat and my bag. Lena, I called softly. She stepped out of her apartment almost immediately, like she had been waiting. I got messages, I said. From the bank. From offices. Her face hardened. They're trying to move around you. Yes, I replied. And I won't let them. The bank was quiet when we arrived. Too quiet. The kind of place where big things happen in low voices. A young man at the counter smiled politely. How can I help you today? I need to secure my accounts, I said. Immediately. He looked at my ID, then at his screen. His smile faded. There was an attempt this morning, he said carefully, to add an authorized person to your account. My chest tightened. Who? I asked. He hesitated. Your son. I closed my eyes for a moment. Was it approved? I asked. No, he said. Because you didn't confirm it. I let out a shaky breath. Good, I said. Because I am not approving anything. Within an hour, I had changed passwords, added alerts, and placed special protections on my accounts. I asked for everything in writing. I asked questions. I did not rush. For the first time in my life, I was not trusting blindly. When we finally left the bank, my legs felt weak, but my mind felt strong. Next stop. The property office. As we waited in line, my phone rang. My daughter. I didn't answer. It rang again. Then a message appeared. Mom, stop this. You're making things worse. Worse. I typed back only 3 words. Do not come. Almost instantly, another message came. You don't understand what you're doing. I stared at the screen. Oh, but I did. At the property office, the clerk frowned as she checked my file. There was an inquiry yesterday, she said, about transferring ownership. My heart dropped. Who made it? I asked, even though I already knew. She looked at me carefully. Your eldest son. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not violently, but deeply. I did not authorize that, I said. She nodded. We saw that. That's why nothing moved forward. Relief washed over me, but it didn't last. They're trying everything, I whispered. Lena squeezed my arm. And you're stopping them, she replied. When I returned home that afternoon, exhaustion hit me hard. Not just physical exhaustion, but emotional. I had fought battles all day. Quiet battles. Paper battles. Battles where smiles hid sharp intentions. I made myself some tea and sat down. My hands were still shaking. That was when the phone rang again. This time, it was a number I did not recognize. I answered slowly. Mrs. Lewis, a man said. This is Adult Protective Services. We received a report concerning your well-being. My blood ran cold. A report? I asked. Yes, he continued. A concern was raised that you may be unable to safely manage your affairs. I almost dropped the phone. This was it. This was their next move. I am perfectly capable, I said firmly. I understand, he replied calmly. But we are required to follow up. Someone will need to visit you. When? I asked. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. After everything they failed to take. They were trying to take me. That night, I barely slept. I replayed the past few days over and over. The knocking. The threats. The papers. The lies. I kept asking myself the same question. How did love turn into this? Just before dawn, my phone buzzed. A message from the unknown number. This is the step they warned you about. I typed back with tired fingers. They reported me. The reply came quickly. Yes. And they are telling people you are unstable. My throat tightened. Why are you helping me? I typed. There was a long pause. Then the answer came. Because I saw what they did to you. And because I know what they plan to do next. My heart skipped. What? I asked. The typing dots appeared. Then disappeared. Finally, the message arrived. They are planning to take you out of your home. Permanently. I stared at the screen, my chest burning. Permanently. I looked around my small apartment. My memories. My life. My safety. All at risk. And the worst part? Tomorrow, strangers would come to decide if I was still allowed to live my own life. I sat back slowly, fear rising again, but beneath it, something stronger. Defiance. Because if my children thought I would quietly disappear, they had made a terrible mistake. Morning came too quickly. I had not really slept. I had only closed my eyes and waited for the sun, listening to every sound in the building, wondering which one would be the moment my life changed forever. Today was the day. The day strangers would come to decide if I was still capable of being myself. I sat at the table with a cup of tea I could barely taste. My hands trembled slightly, but I forced them to be still. I had spent my whole life taking care of others. I would not fall apart now. There was a knock at the door. Not loud. Not angry. Professional. I stood up, straightened my clothes, and opened it. 2 people stood outside, a woman in a neat jacket and a man holding a clipboard. Mrs. Lewis? The woman asked. Yes, I replied. I'm Angela, and this is Mark. We're with Adult Protective Services. May we come in? I nodded and stepped aside. This was it. They sat across from me in the living room. Angela smiled politely. This is just a routine visit, she said. We received a concern and need to make sure you're safe. A concern from whom? I asked. She paused. We can't share that information. I nodded slowly. Of course. Mark began asking questions. Simple ones at first. What day is it? Can you tell me where you are right now? Do you manage your own finances? I answered clearly, calmly, confidently. Angela watched me closely, her eyes sharp but not unkind. Then the questions changed. Do you feel supported by your family? She asked. I hesitated. Yes, I said slowly. But not in the way you might think. She leaned forward slightly. Can you explain? So I did. I told them everything. The sickness. The unanswered calls. The emails. The documents. The threats. I showed them the messages. I showed them the bank alerts. I showed them the property inquiries. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I told the truth. Angela's expression changed as she listened. This was no longer routine. Mark stopped writing and looked up at me. Mrs. Lewis, he said carefully, are you afraid of your children? I took a deep breath. Yes, I said. The word felt heavy, but honest. Angela nodded slowly. Thank you for telling us, she said. They asked more questions. About my health. About my daily life. About Lena. When I told them about my neighbor and how she helped me, Angela asked if she could speak with her. Of course, I said. Lena came in and told them what she had seen and heard. About the knocking. The threats. The fear. By the time she finished, the room felt different. Serious. Focused. After almost 2 hours, Angela closed her notebook. Mrs. Lewis, she said gently, based on what we've seen today, you are mentally capable and managing your life appropriately. Relief washed over me so hard my knees almost gave out. However, she continued, we are concerned about the behavior of your children. Concerned. That was a small word for something so big. We will be documenting this as potential financial exploitation and emotional abuse, Mark added. I swallowed hard. They did this to themselves, Angela said. But we need to ask, have they contacted you recently? I nodded. Yes. Constantly. She exchanged a look with Mark. Then we recommend you limit contact, she said. At least for now. I nodded again. I already knew that. After they left, I sat in silence for a long time. I should have felt happy, victorious. But instead I felt empty. The truth had won, but the cost was heavy. Knowing your own children tried to erase you changes something inside your soul. My phone buzzed. A text. From my eldest son. They came by. Why didn't you answer the door? My heart skipped. They had gone to his house. He knew. Another message followed. You're making us look bad. I stared at the screen. They still thought this was about them. I typed nothing. That evening, Lena came over with food. You did great today, she said. I survived, I replied. She sat beside me. What will you do now? I looked around my home. I don't know, I said honestly. But I know one thing. I won't let them control me. She smiled sadly. That's enough for now. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. The unknown number. You passed the test. My heart pounded. What test? I typed. A pause. Then. They wanted you declared unfit. It didn't work. My hands trembled. How do you know all this? The reply came slower this time. Because I was in the room when they planned it. My breath caught. Who are you? I asked again. The typing dots appeared, then stopped. Then one final message appeared. Someone very close to them. And very tired of their lies. My phone went dark. I sat there in silence, my mind racing. Someone close. Someone who heard their plans. Someone who might still be hiding something big. I looked at the door, the windows, the walls of my home. I was safe, for now. But deep down, I knew this story was not over. Because when people fail to take what they want, they often try one last, desperate move. And I had a feeling that move was coming soon. I woke up with a strange feeling in my chest. Not pain. Not fear. Something else. Like the quiet before a storm. Sunlight came through the window, soft and warm, but my mind was already racing. The words from the unknown number kept repeating in my head. Someone very close to them. Very tired of their lies. I sat up slowly. Who could that be? A spouse? A friend? Someone pretending to support them while secretly watching everything? I didn't know. But I felt it clearly now. The truth was still incomplete. My phone buzzed before I even got out of bed. A message from my daughter. Mom, we need to fix this. Please call me. I stared at the screen. Fix this. They always wanted to fix things when control slipped from their hands. I didn't reply. A few minutes later, another message came, this time from my youngest son. We're worried about you. This has gone too far. Too far. I let out a slow breath. No apology. No responsibility. Just pressure. I placed the phone face down on the table. I was done reacting. From now on, I would observe. Later that morning, Lena knocked on my door. You look tired, she said gently. I am, I replied. But I feel awake. She nodded. That's what standing up for yourself does. We sat together, drinking tea. Then she asked the question I had been avoiding. What happens if they try again? I looked down at my cup. They will, I said quietly. She didn't argue. She knew. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. The unknown number. They're meeting today. My heart skipped. Who? I typed. Your children. All three. My hands tightened around the phone. About what? The dots appeared. Disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, the message came. About forcing a final solution. My chest felt tight. Final. That word never meant anything good. Where? I asked. A pause. Then. Your eldest son's house. I stared at the screen. They were planning again. Even after everything. Even after the police. Even after adult protective services. They still believed they could win. I stood up and began pacing the room. What do I do? I whispered to myself. That was when my phone buzzed again. Another message. Do not confront them. I typed back quickly. Then what? The reply came. Let them finish. They're making a mistake. My heart pounded. What kind of mistake? A longer pause this time. Then the answer. One that leaves proof. Proof. I stopped pacing. If what this person was saying was true, then my children were walking into something they couldn't undo. In the afternoon, something unexpected happened. There was a knock at my door. Not loud. Not angry. When I opened it, a woman stood there. She looked nervous. Her eyes moved quickly, like she was afraid someone might see her. Mrs. Lewis? She asked softly. Yes, I replied. She swallowed hard. My name is Karen, she said. I'm married to your eldest son. My heart dropped. She looked past me into the apartment. May I come in? She asked. Please. I stepped aside. The moment the door closed behind her, she started to cry. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice breaking. I didn't know how to reach you before. My hands trembled. You're the one, I whispered. She looked up. The one who knows, I said. She nodded slowly. I heard everything, she said. For years. We sat at the table. Karen wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. They think I'm on their side, she said. They talk freely around me. I felt sick. They planned this for a long time, she continued. They said you were too trusting. That it would be easy. Easy. They argued about money, she said. About who would get the house. About who would manage your accounts. My hands clenched into fists. And now? I asked. Karen looked down. Now they're angry, she said. They feel embarrassed. Exposed. She looked up at me. They want revenge. The word hit me like ice. What kind of revenge? I asked. She hesitated. They want to prove you're unstable, she said quietly. No matter what it takes. My heart raced. How? I asked. They're planning to record you, she said. To provoke you. To make you look confused or angry. My stomach turned. They think if they can show that, she added, they can try again. Legally. I leaned back in my chair, breathing hard. This was worse than I imagined. Karen reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. I recorded some things, she said. Their conversations. My eyes widened. You did? I asked. She nodded. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. She placed the phone on the table. I don't want anything, she said. I just want the truth to be known. I stared at the phone. Evidence. Real evidence. Just like the unknown number had said. Proof. My phone buzzed again. The unknown number. She's with you now. My breath caught. Yes, I typed. The reply came. Good. Listen to her. I looked at Karen. You were the one texting me, I said softly. She nodded. I was afraid to say it before, she replied. I needed you to be strong first. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear. Relief. Gratitude. Karen stood up. I should go, she said. They'll be expecting me. I nodded. Be careful, I said. She paused at the door. One more thing, she added. They're coming here tomorrow. My heart jumped. Why? I asked. They think they can still scare you, she said. They think you'll break. She looked me in the eyes. Please don't. After she left, I locked the door and leaned against it, my heart racing. Tomorrow. They were coming again. This time with a plan. A trap. I walked back to the table and looked at the phone Karen had left behind for me to copy the recordings. I wasn't weak anymore. I wasn't blind. And tomorrow, when they came to finish what they started, they had no idea that everything they had done was about to come back to them. Harder than they ever expected. I did not sleep that night. Not because I was afraid, but because I was ready. I sat at the table as the sky slowly changed from dark to light. The recordings Karen had shared were saved safely in more than one place. My lawyer had copies. Adult Protective Services had copies. Even Lena had copies, just in case. For the first time in days, I felt prepared. If my children came to break me today, they would fail. The knock came just after noon. Not one knock. 3. Sharp. Confident. Like they owned the place. I stood up slowly and walked to the door. I took a deep breath before opening it. They stood there together. My eldest son in front. My daughter beside him. My youngest son slightly behind. They looked calm. Too calm. Mom, my eldest son said, forcing a smile. We just want to talk. I stepped aside. Come in, I said. They exchanged looks, surprised, relieved, and walked inside. They thought this meant victory. They were wrong. We sat in the living room. My daughter spoke first. Mom, yesterday was emotional. We all said things we didn't mean. I nodded. Go on, I said. My youngest son leaned forward. We just want to clear the air. No fighting. No stress. Clear the air. My eldest son sighed dramatically. We love you. But we're worried. You've been acting differently. There it was. The setup. How so? I asked calmly. You're suspicious, my daughter said. You don't trust us anymore. I smiled softly. You gave me a reason not to, I replied. My eldest son's jaw tightened. Mom, he said, lowering his voice. This isn't healthy. You're pushing everyone away. I leaned back in my chair. No, I said. I'm finally seeing clearly. That was when his tone changed. Hard. If you keep this up, he said, you're going to end up alone. I looked at him. I was already alone, I replied. When I needed you most. My daughter scoffed. You're twisting things. I reached for my phone. No, I said quietly. You did. I pressed play. The room filled with my eldest son's voice. Clear. Cold. Talking about my house. My money. How easy it would be to get me to sign papers. My children froze. I played another recording. My daughter's voice this time. Laughing. Talking about putting me in a home. Saying I wouldn't notice. My youngest son stood up. Where did you get that? He demanded. I looked at him. The truth, I said. Silence fell over the room. Heavy. Unavoidable. My eldest son's face turned pale. You recorded us, he snapped. No, I replied. Someone who still has a conscience did. My daughter's voice shook. You had no right. I stood up. I had every right, I said. You tried to erase me. They started talking all at once. Defending. Explaining. Blaming each other. I raised my hand. Enough. They fell silent. I raised you, I said slowly. I loved you. I protected you. And you repaid me with lies and greed. My voice was steady. I am done sacrificing myself for people who see me as a problem. My eldest son clenched his fists. So what now? He asked. You call the police again? You ruin us. I shook my head. No, I said. You did that yourselves. I walked to the door and opened it. You are no longer welcome here, I said. All communication will go through my lawyer. My daughter stared at me. You're choosing strangers over your own children, she said bitterly. I met her eyes. No, I replied. I'm choosing dignity over abuse. One by one, they walked out. No hugs. No apologies. Just silence. The door closed behind them. And this time, it stayed closed. Weeks passed. The noise stopped. The threats stopped. The manipulation stopped. Legally, everything was settled. My assets were protected. My independence was recognized. Adult Protective Services closed the case, in my favor. As for my children, they stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped pretending. And strangely enough, I felt lighter. Not happy, but free. One evening, I sat by the window with Lena. You okay? She asked. I nodded. I spent my whole life being needed, I said. I forgot I also deserved to be respected. She smiled. You taught them how to treat you, she said gently. And when they failed, you taught yourself how to walk away. I looked at my hands. Old hands. Strong hands. Hands that had carried others for decades. And finally, hands that were no longer empty. If you are listening to this story and it feels familiar, please hear me. Being a parent does not mean being a sacrifice forever. Loving someone does not mean letting them destroy you. And needing help does not make you weak. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. If this story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful, emotional stories like this. Also, share in the comments. Have you ever given everything to someone, only to be abandoned when you needed them most? Your story matters. And you are not alone.